Billionaire Richard Montgomery sat at Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant, the kind where crystal chandeliers shimmered above polished oak tables and the soft strains of a live pianist floated through the air. His 10-year-old son, Lucas, struggled to walk in his heavy metal braces, the muscles in his legs stiff and uncooperative. The boy's face twisted in concentration, a mixture of fear and determination as he tried to match the rhythm of the music that only he seemed to hear. Richard's heart ached. It had been 2 long years since the accident that partially paralyzed Lucas. He had protected his son in every possible way, shielding him from disappointment, failure, and even small risks. But now, in this gleaming restaurant, Richard realized that protection had also built invisible walls around Lucas's spirit. He had given safety, but at the cost of freedom, control at the cost of independence. Diana Johnson, the restaurant's only black waitress, moved quietly among the tables. Her presence was unassuming, yet there was an undeniable warmth in her smile. She had worked here for years, unnoticed by most, serving meals with efficiency and care, never asking for attention. Tonight, her path would cross with Lucas's in a way that would change all of their lives. Lucas hesitated near a table, dragging his braces along the polished floor. He looked up, saw Diana standing there, and extended his hand toward her. The manager noticed immediately, his face tightening. "Sir, control your son. This is not a dance hall." Richard swallowed hard. He felt the heat rise in his face but remained still, uncertain of how to respond. The memory of his late wife flashed before him. Her laughter, her twirling with Lucas in their living room, the sheer joy on both their faces. He remembered the way Lucas's eyes sparkled when he felt capable, the rare moments when fear was replaced by pride. Diana's eyes met Lucas's, calm, compassionate, unflinching. She removed her apron, smoothing her uniform, and smiled gently. "I can't dance in an apron," she said simply. Then, without waiting for permission, she took Lucas's hand. The braces screeched as Lucas dragged his foot, but Diana moved with him, matching his pace. Something extraordinary happened. Fear melted into concentration, shame gave way to pride. For the first time since the accident, Lucas wasn't being guided, he was leading. The other diners watched in silence, captivated by the quiet courage unfolding before them. Richard felt tears prick the corners of his eyes. He realized that Diana's action was not just about dancing, it was about trust, about seeing Lucas as a person with agency, not just a child to be protected. She had given him the gift of choice, of control over his own body, in a moment that no money or privilege could buy. The manager stormed over, fuming. "This is unacceptable! She'll be disciplined for this!" Richard shook his head, silencing him with a glance. The restaurant fell silent, patrons watching the unlikely dance unfold, witnessing a quiet revolution of courage and humanity. Diana led Lucas back to the table with dignity. "Thank you for asking me out," Diana said formally, as if this brief magical encounter had been a proper engagement. Richard, moved beyond words, asked for her full name. Diana Johnson. He handed her a card. "My office tomorrow at 10 a.m., he said. Lucas, confused, whispered, "Why did you do that?" Richard looked at his son, really looked, seeing not a patient to manage, but a young boy reclaiming his life, his identity, and his confidence. The next morning, Diana entered Montgomery Tower. The sleek, glass-walled lobby reflected the city's pulse, yet she walked with a calm certainty, untouched by intimidation. The receptionist directed her to Mr. Montgomery's office, and she was escorted in. Richard greeted her, calm and composed, yet curious. Diana spoke about her education, her experience, and her work running Freedom Steps, a dance program for children with disabilities. She explained the struggles, lack of funding, societal misunderstanding, and the difficulty of convincing parents to allow their children independence. Dancing with Lucas had taught him more than any business deal could. It had shown him a better way to connect with his son, to nurture growth through autonomy and respect. He offered her a high-paying job as a therapeutic companion for Lucas, hoping to keep her close. Diana shook her head. "I don't work for people who see my color or my class before they see my competence. I don't work for people trying to buy solutions to emotional problems." Instead, she handed him a card, inviting Lucas to Freedom Steps, a place that prioritized self-led progress, freedom, and respect. Richard watched her leave, understanding that this simple act of refusal had imparted a deeper lesson. True care is not control, it is trust, patience, and the courage to step aside. Weeks later, Richard and Lucas arrived at the community center. Inside, children with a variety of disabilities moved freely to music, guided by passion, not perfection. Lucas hesitated, unsure of what to do. Diana knelt beside him, offering encouragement, and he took his first self-led steps. Small, shaky, imperfect, but entirely his own. Richard's heart swelled. He realized that parenting, like leadership, sometimes meant stepping back, allowing another to guide, to teach, to open doors, and to celebrate the triumphs of autonomy. As reporters arrived, Richard faced a choice: announce his power, his philanthropy, his status, or honor the moment, the child, the teacher who had changed their lives. He chose the latter. He pledged to fully fund Freedom Steps, build a permanent center, and give Diana complete autonomy over the program. Months passed. Construction began. Lucas continued to grow, sometimes hesitant, sometimes exuberant, occasionally leading other children himself. Richard observed quietly, learning the hardest lesson of all. True power lies in knowing when to follow. His movements were limited, but his confidence radiated. Diana approached Richard. "He doesn't need you to hold him anymore," she said. "But he still needs me to be around," Richard replied, smiling through tears. Through one act of courage, a simple dance, Diana changed Lucas's life, Richard's perspective, and the futures of countless children. A year later, the program expanded nationwide. Lucas became a youth spokesperson, inspiring others. Richard finally understood. Transformation is born when we step aside, when first steps are given freely, and when respect and trust guide our actions. The story of Diana, Lucas, and Richard serves as a timeless reminder. The greatest change often begins not in power, but in humility. Not in control, but in the courage to let someone else lead, to trust, and to believe that the first steps, no matter how small, can change lives forever.